The campus was famous for its Greek life, which meant that every weekend, the whole campus would light up with parties, and everyone would scramble to get into the most selective ones. As someone who loved parties, I had rushed a few frats during my freshman year. However, I didn't really look like the typical frat guy and felt that I was rejected from many of them because of my image. I was fairly skinny for my age, and I had grown out my hair to my shoulders. I had a feminine face and considered myself to be an introvert. I was not what a frat was looking for, but I wanted to get into their parties. Over the last year, I had tried many tactics to sneak into them, but everything failed. I had noticed that it was so easy for girls to get into parties, but guys were often pulled out of line and questioned if they were not part of the frat. My best friend Tana was in one of the top sororities, and she would tell me lots of stories of what happened at these parties. Tina was considered one of the most attractive girls at my school and could get into any party she wanted. She was athletic and had a very soft face. I had befriended her in my math class and helped her with tests and homework. I thought Tina was very pretty and had a crush on her for a while. I couldn't tell if she liked me back. I was planning on telling her soon, but kept putting it off. One of the most prestigious frats, Kappa Sig, was holding a big party this upcoming weekend, and almost all of my friends who were girls were going. I had tried to reach out for tickets, but I was ignored. The day before, I was getting lunch with Tina and voiced my frustration. It's just not fair. I wish I was a girl sometimes. You guys can get into these parties so easily. Tina smiled and said, being a girl is hard. There's a lot of preparation for these parties, and frat guys can be super creepy. I said, I don't care. I would do anything to get into one of these parties. Tina said, would you really do anything? I nodded. She said, well, I think I have an idea for how to get you into one, but we will need some supplies. I got excited and asked what the plan was. Tina said, don't worry about it. I will handle everything. Just promise me that you are down for whatever plan I have. After agreeing to Tina's plan, we parted ways shortly after lunch. The rest of the week flew by, and before I knew it, it was Friday. Tina texted me to meet her a few hours before the party at her apartment. I thought maybe she wanted help with one of her classes, so I packed my books and walked over. She was waiting for me in the lobby, and we both got in the elevator. I asked why I had to come so early. She said, well, we need time to prepare you for the party. I made a confused face and followed her into her apartment. We went to a room, and she told me to sit on her bed. This was the first time I had been in her room, and it was pretty nice, with decorations everywhere. It smelled strongly of perfume. Tina came up to me and asked me if I was ready to begin. I asked her what the plan was. She said, the plan is pretty simple. There's no way you're going to get into the party looking like that. Your only chance is to go in disguise. I frantically shook my head and got up to leave. There is no way I'm doing that, Tina. She moved close to me and put her arms around me. It felt good, but I was also nervous. She looked into my eyes and said, please, can you do it for me? I promise I won't tell anyone. You also said you'd do anything to get into the party. After thinking for a minute, I said, all right, okay, but no one can know. Tina jumped up and cheered. Let's get to work. We don't have much time. Tina handed me a blue thong and told me to go to the bathroom and put it on. I removed all of my clothes and stepped into the thong. It was a snug fit, but I liked how it felt. I walked out of the bathroom, and Tina clapped. Wow, nice booty. You are going to make such a good girl. Tina made me walk around her apartment in a thong and cheered me on. She had me do a runway walk and yell, you go girl, as I strutted my stuff. We went back into a room, and she slapped me on the bottom. I really liked all the attention from her and didn't mind doing all of this. She moved her chair into her bathroom and asked me to take a seat. Taking out a big bag of beauty supplies, she first used a razor to shave my entire body. She said she would have given me a Brazilian wax if we had more time. She then washed my hair and straightened it, tweezed my eyebrows and other hair on my face, and began applying makeup. As she sat in my lap to do my makeup, I couldn't tell if she was doing this to intentionally tease me. She put foundation and lots of other products on my face. Looking at myself in the mirror, I was astounded by how feminine I looked. I smiled and winked at myself. If I had seen myself on campus, I would have thought that I was hot. Tina asked me to get up and move the chair out of the bathroom. She put a matching blue bra on me and clasped it in the back. She then brought out the dress, a tight black party dress. I stepped into it, and she pulled it up over my body. She adjusted the dress and said, "Wow, you look cute. If I was a guy, I would definitely hit on you." That made me blush. Tina attached a pair of fake hoops to my ears, then brought out black party heels. "I was going to wear these, but I think you can rock them better," she said. I put them on and practiced walking around for a bit. Tina slid some breast pads under my chest and added a necklace as a finishing touch. "All done," she said. Tina quickly got ready and made me wait in her living room while she was in the bathroom. Suddenly, I heard the door to her apartment unlock, and her roommate walked in. She seemed to be in a rush and said a brief hi. I waved and smiled. She went straight to her room and closed the door. I guess I was passed off as a woman. I immediately got a boost of confidence and was ready to go to the party. Tina came out of her room, and I froze. She was wearing a red two-piece dress and looked beautiful. I told her she looked good, and she took my hand. She pulled me into the bathroom and took out her phone. She put her hand on my hip and snapped a picture of us. "So many guys are going to be simping over us tonight," she said. I chuckled awkwardly and reminded myself not to be a simp for her. Tina handed me a purse and told me to put all my stuff in it. She grabbed her purse, and we headed out of her apartment. I called an Uber, and we both got into the back. The driver was a middle-aged guy and was making lots of eye contact with me through the mirror. He said, "So where are you ladies going tonight?" Tina motioned to me to respond. I said in my best girl voice, "We're going to a party." The driver didn't seem to notice my fake voice and carried on the conversation. 10 minutes later, we got out of the Uber and arrived at the party. Tina took my hand and walked to the front of the line. She whispered something to the man at the door, and he let us both slide by. I felt his eyes on my body as I slipped by him. I felt my dress rub up against his jeans as I passed. The party was packed, and the music was blaring. We beelined to the dance floor. Tina started hugging people and introducing me. I introduced myself as Taylor, and Tina laughed when she heard that. No one seemed to be suspicious about me. I could feel the eyes of a few of the guys on me, and it felt a bit creepy. The party was packed with girls and probably had a 1 guy to 10 girl ratio. I understood why it was so hard to get in as a guy. Tina took my hand, and we started dancing. After a few minutes, we split up and started dancing separately. Suddenly, I felt someone dancing behind me. It was one of the frat guys. He started dancing up behind me. I didn't know what to do and just kept dancing from side to side in place. He put his hands around me and started rubbing up against me. Tina burst out of the crowd and grabbed me. The frat guy didn't seem to care and went off in his search for another girl. Tina said, "See, this is what I'm talking about." After another half an hour of dancing, we went upstairs and into a room with some of the frat guys. The room was loud with conversation until there was a loud whistle and everyone quieted down. "Thank you for coming out to our party, ladies. For those of you that don't know, my name is Kurt, and I'm the president of Kappa Sig," one of the frat guys said. Everyone clapped. There were around 10 dudes and 15 girls in the room. "As always, we are going to be playing some games to make the night a little more interesting. We will be starting with Truth or Dare," Kurt continued. Everyone smiled, and Kurt looked around the room. He locked eyes with Tina and said, "Truth or Dare." Tina said, "Dare." Kurt thought for a minute, then said, "Make out with one person in this room for 30 seconds. I think Kurt was hoping that Tina would make out with him. Tina looked around the room, then smiled at me. She leaned over and put her hand on my cheek. Our lips locked, and we began making out. Instinctively, My hand went on her hips and pulled her in closer. She slid her hands around me and grabbed my bottom. We slowly made out for the rest of the time until she moved away from me. We both smiled and everyone clapped. I couldn't believe what had just happened. This was the best party ever. A few more turns happened until I got picked. Kurt smiled and said, "Truth or dare?" I said, "Dare." Kurt said, "Take off your dress." I immediately froze and looked at Tina. She had a worried look on her face. Everyone started chanting, "Do it, do it, do it." I continued to look at Kurt and he said, "You have 5 seconds or else we'll ask you to leave." I got up and turned towards the corner of the room. I pulled up my dress over my head and dropped it to the floor. All the guys whistled and I began to turn around. Everyone's face changed instantly. Kurt yelled, "That's a dude," and everyone froze. I immediately bolted out of the room and ran down the stairs. I heard lots of footsteps chasing after me. I ran through the dance floor and out the front door. Kurt and his friends were only a few seconds behind me as I ran down the sidewalk. Because of my size, I was a pretty good runner and slowly gained ground on Kurt. It also helped that I was wearing only a bra and a thong. I quickly lost them and slowed my pace to a walk. I knew where I was and jogged back to Tina's apartment. I heard cars honk at me as they went by. Tina was waiting at her apartment and gave me a big hug. She said that she was so sorry and that she shouldn't have pressured me to go. I said it was okay and that I had a lot of fun. We went up to her apartment and I ended up spending the night. Tina and I started talking more in the following weeks and started dating about 3 months later. "I'm glad I went to that party." "Hey guys," I said.